Hello and welcome to this episode of Do You Believe in God? And I have my wonderful, lovely friend, Dr. Rani Bora, with me today. We have definitely been exploring this a little bit and had a few conversations around this. And we did start to talk before we pressed record. But as I have seen so many times, if we do that, a lot of the real gold gets lost in in those moments before. So I thought, let's just press record and see what comes out in this conversation, because as I said, I know we've had some really juicy conversations about this, and I know it's something we're both exploring a little bit. So do you want to tell us a little bit about you, and let's see what comes out?
Yeah, before that, I just wanted to say when you reached out to me and say, "Hey, Rani, I am starting this new channel called Do You Believe in God? Would you like to come, or I would like you to come?" I can't remember what you said. And it was like, oh my goodness, yes. That I want to start with that because there was something even in the name that drew me to this. And I was thinking, of course, I would love to have be part of this conversation. So that's what I wanted to get started with. So I know that um, first of all, I'm going to enjoy this conversation, not knowing what's going to come out. I know you are going to have this conversation. And I also have a sense that anyone who has dropped by and watching this is really going to enjoy this conversation because I'm seeing more and more that when we all have an idea of God, idea, and when we drop all ideas and just get present, something magical happens. And I know I'm going to learn heaps, so I'm already super excited. And in terms of, just saying a bit about me, my roles as a human, mostly I'm known for being a holistic psychiatrist. I'm also a coach, and I have come up with coined this term called mental wealth paradigm, and I'm taking a stand to spread this paradigm, the paradigm of mental wealth, everywhere, worldwide and beyond. And because I'm seeing more and more that one thing I never thought about before as a psychiatrist was genuine hope for people. Like, yeah, I'm hopeful that you'll recover. You might want to hope that you'll recover, but I really didn't see at the level that I am beginning to see. And I speak from that truth of seeing. And again, there's a saying, Debra, right, that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Uh, that's what keeps happening. And also, like thinking about that, like when the student is ready and wanting to learn about God, God appears.
Oh, wow. Yeah, exactly that. I love what you just said then about making a stand for mental wealth, for making that something that is important to you. Because one of the things that I have seen, since I have really been embracing God as in sharing it outwardly. I've always, God has always been my word, and I guess I've been just a little bit careful about where I've used it and where I haven't, and that's sort of dropped. No, not sort of dropped. That's dropped for me. It's just like, yeah, this is how I see it, and this is how it is. And I look out in the world, and like you, I see a lot of things, yeah, in various countries. I don't particularly listen to the news, but I think you'd have to live in a box with your eyes closed to not know, there's a lot of things going on in our world. Not a mental health crisis is definite. It feels like that is huge. It feels like there's all sorts of things going on in leadership in various countries, all sorts of things going on in the Middle East, and all of those kinds of things. And what I see is making a stand to actually talk about God and look in this direction, genuinely look, what is this? What are we pointing towards? It actually brings me great hope. I really see, wow, there is something a little bit. I really heard it when you shared that, when it's like, oh yeah, all this time I've kind of thought, yeah, you can hope you get better with this sort of the energy of, but with what you've got, with what's going on. And I can see that in the world. There is a lot of people who think it looks like we haven't got a lot of hope. with the way that our world is going, with the way that a lot of things are going, it looks like we haven't got a lot of hope. And what I see is this conversation holds more than hope, in my opinion. It's literally like the huge insight that you had. Oh gosh, my patients aren't broken. I'm not here to fix them. I'm here to help them uncover the truth of that. And this feels the same to me. It's like, yeah, we are here to. Oh, it seems that we have lost Rani. Let's see if she can make her way back. Hang on. Well, here we are back again. We had a little drop in the internet there. There's real life for you happening right there.
Absolutely.
So I was just sharing about the hope that I see, like you with your patients, when you had that huge insight and saw that your patients weren't broken and that wasn't, you didn't have to fix them. There was somewhere else you could point them. And I think to me, that's what this conversation opens for me, both in the mental wealth paradigm and in all of the things that are going on in our world. It just feels like there's something here in an understanding of God and what that is that brings more than hope. It's like, yeah, we're okay.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a to me there's a distinction between trying to fix and also supporting people to live the best health. Because I know that there are so many things that sometimes people don't see that, where we all have blind spots. It could be the way they're living their life. It could be the way they are misusing the power of thought and so on. That if they didn't do that because they really understand, or they're beginning to get a glimpse into their godlike nature and how the mind works, then things will drop away and they are going to take some action that they always wanted to take, action on. So I think that's one thing I would say. I don't say that, oh, you don't need to be fixed, so no help.
Oh
I
yeah, there's not no.
It's like, oh, you believe in God, you keep believing in God and don't do anything. That doesn't
Yeah.
work, right, Debra?
No, no, no. Yeah, I love that. And thank you for the distinction, because that is one of the things that I really love about you and the stands that you're taking and the things. I know you've been to AJC school, and I love watching the people come out of there, and the fact that they are, oh, I'm making a stand for this, I'm doing this. And part of my understanding of us as created in the image of God is we are created as creators. We're created to create, we're created to make. And it is, we are here to make stands for things and to see things and then create something better or a different way, to love and to support each other, to be there for each other in those ways. So absolutely, I would 100% agree. I don't think that this means if people aren't broken, oh, there's nothing that we have to do then. I think the exact opposite. It's like, therefore, what do you want to
Yeah,
do?
yeah, and they're beautiful because I keep saying, Debra. Sometimes I call you Debra, sometimes I call you Debs.
I was good.
You don't
I
mind, right?
I know.
Um, there is, I say that also, you can't say I'm going to switch off my creation because I'm in a bad mood. We are constantly creating. We're so powerful creators that we're constantly creating. And there is something about consciously creating, like I'm, making a stand or taking a stand for this, or we don't say it consciously, and unconsciously we are, living what you call the identity, and we are creating from that. And it is a beautiful way of waking up and feeling compassion for ourselves, because sometimes we all create unconsciously, and there are consequences. We ultimately we do end up with something because we have been playing with this Play-Doh, for example, and there's a creation, whether you like it or not, whether you intended it to be that particular, you know, image or yeah, whatever, but it would be some creation, even if that place like plonk is just there, there will be something still in the world of form.
Yeah, yes, yes, we do. We are, that's exactly it. We are creators. And I guess coming to an understanding of the principles, and to me, mind in the principles is pointing towards God, the power of God. And it's like when we come to that understanding, we see, yeah, we are continuously creating, and we can innocently and accidentally create against ourselves almost, create things like you said that we don't want, but there it is. And so what do we do? And to me, one of the things that I see is when we actually deliberately set out to create something beautiful, it that really helps with our accidental creations, if you like. We're far less, if we have a commitment, and if we make a decision to commit to something, I think it is much more easy. This has been my experience. So the thing that I deliberately am setting out to create a lot is to live from love, not fear. This is a deliberate, I'm going to purposely, I've made a decision and then a commitment to live from love, not
I
fear.
love it. I love your decision.
Thank you. And what I see as a result of that, it's almost like when I am unconsciously creating from fear, creating something I don't want, misusing thought, doing these things it's almost like a light goes on and kind of says, oh, you're doing that thing again. Is that what you want to do?
Mm, mm,
So, um,
beautiful.
I don't know what has your experience been since making that decision and that commitment to make a stand for mental wealth? What have you noticed?
I think again, I'm saying mental wealth, but it's just a term and it's pointing to God. It's pointing to a God-like nature. It is pointing to, whatever we are looking for, we already, we are it. We already have it. And we are, the God with a small g. I'm seeing that when I am saying I taking a stand to spread this understanding, like miracles happen. And what I'm pointing to is that in a way, you can't just say mind and body connection, mind and body connection. It's just incomplete without the soul aspect, the mind, body, soul. And if I want to be very careful with people, I might just say mind, body, spirit. But I mean the same, right? I mean mind, body, soul. Because it's like it's really where people are and how people are listening to that. But I really have a sense, and every time, I mean, I love doing my psychiatry assessments nowadays. I mean, um, earlier on, I was talking to someone who was so going through challenges, and they're so fixated on solving the challenges with the intellect that they really like, no wonder they were struggling so much. And although they were really trying their best to solve the problems with the intellect, guess what, they were having more and more problems, and they were getting frustrated and helpless. So my invitation has been that rather than coming from the intellect space, because the intellect has saved them, the intellect has gone them, taken them places, but they're over reliance on the intellect to just drop into, if I were to use a softer word, and people don't like the word God, I would say drop into a heart level, because most people would be okay with that. Because, and again, when I say drop to a heart level, I'm not really saying drop your level. In a way, it's just like expand it. And also heart, not as in the physical heart. We're talking about a spiritual heart, or it beyond the form. And so what I'm saying more and more, the more I'm taking a stand for mental wealth, and I'm exploring it, and I am also having conversations my way with God, I'm seeing that we are all pointing to the same, the same thing. And I might call it mental wealth, but I'm saying without really, I'm also hearing, look within, look within, look within is like, look within and see God. God of your understanding.
Mm.
And just to say that there's something, even like when we first started, and even now, I am experiencing a different kind of feeling, which is not my thinking feeling. I'm, like more like a quiet, more like a presence, more like oh, this is so beautiful. Not knowing where we are going, not knowing, what questions are coming. It's like, this is so beautiful. So I, again, like that, me making a commitment to like honoring that and spreading that has really expanded my perception of what we might call God, or what, what's possible. And whenever I come from this place of being curious and expansion, I'm like you, like I'm coming from a place of love versus fear. And I do go there, and then it's so beautiful that again there's something that reminds me, is this really what you want? And
Yeah.
I know hands on heart, no, it is not. My intellect thinks this is going to solve a problem, but I have been able to drop a lot of like, I am right, also
Mm.
because of exploring this. That makes sense to you, what I'm saying?
It makes total sense. And yeah, and me too. Like the feeling, it's just a really beautiful feeling when you. So for me, when I say the love experiment, Beck, who's my niece and my PA, we kind of go between calling it the love experiment or the God experiment between us. And so it's really that really resonated. And I really had a deep feeling when you said, "Oh, it's the same thing." It's the God experiment in mental health, mental wealth.
Yeah.
It's like where does God appear here? And whatever word it is, like you say, it is something of your own understanding. Um, but it is seeing that there is more to us here as human beings, and I think we all have a sense of that. And then it is, where do you see it? And I think what I'm hearing and what you're saying is this is a way to open that conversation. Where do you see beyond your intellect? Where do you see these amazing, or even these things, even if you are struggling and it doesn't look mind-blowingly amazing, but it's like, well, how come I felt all right yesterday? Whatever it is, these little things that is like, well, what's that about, that I had half an hour of feeling at complete peace and I could sleep and I could rest, and yet I have this idea that I have this mental health problem that normally interrupts that. So whatever it is we see, I think it is pointing to what looks, and the intellect tends to make things black and white, it's this or it's that or whatever. And it's like seeing, no, there's more here that we can explore. And the more we explore it, the more we see it. The more we see it, the more it has an active part to play in our lives that genuinely bring us back in ways that make sense to us. And this is what I'm really seeing as well. It enriches our lives and fulfills our lives in ways that make sense to us, which to me is absolutely the paradigm of mental wealth, because that's what we want, isn't it? We want to feel fulfilled, and we want to feel well, and we want to feel at peace, all of those things. So
Yeah, yeah. And talking about, I also thought the same about, oh, this love experiment is a God experiment. And I'm sure you have read or heard about this book called The Surrender Experiment, right? By Michael Singer.
yes,
The Surrender
same
Experiment.
thing. Yep.
Yeah, what came to mind is that, all of us have done one experiment, but the opposite of what we want the experiment, which is we have all done and have PhD in the control experiment. Needing to be in control. I'm in control. And
Yeah.
all our lives, most of the
Yes.
time we have been in the control. I'm a control freak. We don't label ourselves, I'm a control freak or perfectionist, or, not perfectionist, but control thing. And one time, long time ago, someone did say to me that there's a possibility, I was trying to be controlling as a parent. I said, like, no, thank you very much. How dare you call me a control freak? I'm not a control freak. Even that was trying to control my anger.
I'll control you into knowing that I'm not a
Yeah, yeah,
control
yeah, yeah,
freak.
absolutely. So what I'm saying as a possibility is that we have all been majoring in the control experiment. I am in control. I'm in charge of this and that, and I'm in control of my mental health. Like I'm going to do this, or I need to do this, or I need to, most of the time, I need to overthink and come up with something, and I need to stop this. So I'm overthinking. And again, it's innocent, like Sidney Banks would say, the innocent misunderstanding of us even thinking we are in control.
Mm.
And so for some people, especially it was in my case, like I would freak out thinking like, oh, like, what do you mean I need to let go? That's scary. Like surrender meaning giving up. I used to equate to surrender means giving up.
Yes.
And like, defeated, like, oh, I surrender and I do this, like, oh, I surrender. And that's a thing, isn't it? But that's fear. That's fear-based. And
Yeah.
what you're doing with that experiment, which we have all, again, control experiment is like a fear experiment. And now we're talking about this God experiment, which is the surrender of like this,
Mm.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yes.
I'm ready to see. I'm ready to explore. I'm ready to play, and a sense of that isness. So what all I'm saying is that the old Rani would be in a contracted place like control experiment, and now I'm being playful and I'm doing the opposite, which is the God experiment. And I love by the way, I love you. And I remember you still saying, God and me are besties. And I was thinking of a young child in the playground saying, will you be my best friend? Oh, yeah, we are best friends forever, BFF. And I'm thinking like we all talk about an inner child. We can say that, oh, the inner child is traumatized, or we can say that inner child always likes to learn and play and is like curious. I'm inviting everyone to bring out that curious inner child who's like to play and say, will you be my best friend? And this is what I'm doing in terms of even when I'm talking about taking a stand for mental wealth, and the God experiment for me is like, hey, God might not talk to me in worse, but do I feel a presence? Do I feel a good feeling?
Mm.
That to me is like God is like with me. God is supporting me. And again, I can use isness. I can use, isness to talk as a God or a high intelligence, whatever you want to say. But I think there's something so, oof, I can let go of like needing to hold on and try to figure out the the answer to this particular challenge now, rather than like I'm willing to be guided by God. I'm willing to like experiment with this, with a different way of letting go of that control. I think that has really helped me.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I really hear you on the control thing. And definitely control is a fear-based thing, isn't it? And it is, I think, for whatever reason, our conditioning or whatever it is, we do, if things, if we feel overwhelmed, or if we feel like things are too much for us, it's almost like that's a go-to, isn't it? Okay, well, I'm going to hold on tight and I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen, and I'm going to make sure. And like you say, it's very as a parent, I know we're both mums, and it can be really, no, I have to control. And I don't think it doesn't even present itself in this
Yeah,
way. It
yeah.
comes as, I have to keep my children safe. I have to, and it
Very
feels,
subtle. Yeah.
yeah, it is very subtle, and it feels almost like, I can remember in conversations when my children were small, in conversations by the school gates and things like this, it was almost like the person who worried the most loved their children the most. And this experiment and looking at it a different way, what I see now, I mean, my children are grown up, but they never stop being your children, do they? And I really see, actually, if I truly love my children, I'm not going to worry about them. I'm not going to do that to them. I'm not going to do that to myself. And I'm not going to do that to them. And the only possibility, like playing this and getting curious and getting, so then I'm like, well, but how? I've worried about my children for years, and it's like, and what if this happens? And what if this happens? How can you just switch off that worry and say, well, I'm not going to do this? And to me, then it is an understanding of what it means to look in the direction that there is more to us than what first meets the eye. There is more to us than simply the form and the human part of us. And whatever it is we need in any given moment, if that word surrender, yeah, definitely, I hear you in that as well. It's like the opposite of control. It's like, I don't think so, I'm not surrendering my children to, I've got to do it. But actually seeing, do you know what happens, and definitely getting curious and looking in this direction and being playful and seeing what you see, it blows my mind what then does show up, what does happen, what we
Mm,
do notice about how resourceful our children are and how much more beautiful and connected our relationship with our children is when we stop controlling them and being fearful and thinking that we have to hold them so tight and make sure that nothing happens to them, that or any of those things. Actually, that whole letting go and surrendering and just coming from love, oh my gosh, what that opens up. And I think one of the reasons we have to play and become best friends with God, yeah, God is my best friend, definitely. One of the reasons we have to find our own way and make our own sense of that is because when we put words on these things and say these things, I can hear even in my own mind, oh, I'm not sure I can let go of my kids. I'm not sure I can do that. And it's like, well, put your toe in the water, play, see, because your own lived experience, what comes back to you when you do that, it's unbelievable what shows up, what happens when we do that. And that's the God piece for me. We can't make sense of it. When the intellect tries to describe what happens, we can pick it apart and go, well, I'm not so sure about just letting my children make their own decisions, now they're teenagers, or, what if they do this? What if this happens? But when you see, if you step into a place of love and trust your knowing in the moment, you see that it actually arises in you when to say yes and no. And when we're not in our intellect and from love sometimes does say no, but it says no in a it comes from a very different energy when we are in love and not fearful and we're just clear that this is a no. It's very different to fearful, no, you can't do that and you mustn't do that. It's a totally different
mm,
ball game.
mm.
So
Yeah, and anyone listening to this, please don't get this wrong impression that I don't lose it. I don't come from fear, that I don't contract. I don't, say, no, you can't. And then I can't, I even struggle to justify, no, you can't go there. Can you give me some reason? You just, and I
yes, I
keep,
said so.
stick with my words. But here's the thing. I think what I'm seeing is ultimately the word that comes to me is the attachment. Is the attachment to a particular outcome, be
Yeah.
it for our children because we say we want to keep them safe, or attachment to anything else. I mean, part of I say this I say we are wearing this costume, we are the spiritual beings wearing this costume, and I imagine that costume where taking that designer luggage that you talked about, rather than baggage. So imagine this costume taking this designer luggages and going around world. It's so believable, and it's the
Yeah.
one layer of costume we all have common in, which is human. And then, of course, there are multiple layers of costumes depending on our culture, conditioning, and so on and so forth. But so it's so easy to just get caught up because part of being human is also we have got this whole biological survival, system
Mm.
that protects us from danger. And so there will be like, that we are going to react.
Mm.
And but the good thing is that even though our initial reaction, it might be we react, once we start doing this experiment, there is like a pause, there's a space that appears. So again, I'm going to quote this quote, which many people know about Viktor Frankl's quote, between stimulus and response, there is a space, and
Yeah.
that's where your freedom lies. um, before at least I did this experiment, it was like stimuli response, stimuli response. Now with the what I'm seeing with the love experiment or God experiment or believing in God as in the intelligence behind life, the isness, whatever you want to call it, and there's something that like something in me quite quietens down enough, something in me softens enough, something in me just goes still, and then there is like this metaphorical space appears before, like, rather than me, like, rather than, someone says something, then I have to say something back and do something back. And I feel so grateful that something in me just gets quiet, because before I had to have the last word in everything, every argument or something, last word. Oh, so you were right, huh? That would even that I would like to put in there to be right. And then someone else might say, oh, so you still want to be right. The ego drama,
Yeah.
we talk about the drama triangle, but think about the drama that everyone's ego's plays. And so when we experiment with this, and we are, just exploring and really believing, seeing something, have faith in a higher power or God or love, we will find that it doesn't take effort in us dropping that, like, needing to have the last word. It's not like me saying, okay, so now I have a choice, I'm going to drop it. Yeah, you can keep saying that, but in the heat of the moment, we are not, we don't intellectualize normally. Shall I drop it? Shall I not? Right?
Mm,
Or do I have a choice? Do I have it not? But the more we experiment with this, and really, like, explore God, our understanding of God, what I've noticed for me is that it just doesn't make sense anymore. And I'm not using any technique, I'm not using anything else, but something just quietens down. And again, that to me is God speaking to me and
mm,
saying, "It's
yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that's been my experience too. As I said, when once I made the decision to commit to living from love, not fear, and said that out loud, declared it to myself first, and then, like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. It really does feel like that. There's a quote, isn't there, that says providence moves and all sorts of things happen in your favor. And very much that was what I saw. And exactly like you said, it felt like, or it feels like, and as an ongoing thing, it feels like there is a moment of choice there, and an easy choice to make. It's sort because it feels like with the commitment, if you like, it feels like the choice was already made. I've already said this is the choice. The commitment is the choice. So when I notice that space, it's an invite to easily keep to the commitment I've made, if you like. Like that. It definitely, that's how it showed up for me. I can remember when my girls were teenagers. I can remember, and I have no idea. And this is what, this is always, you don't have to understand or know the principles or come across anything. All of this thing that we're talking about is evident in our lives. So I remember when my girls were teenagers and they were starting to go out with their friends at night and things like this. And I would always say to them, when they were getting ready to go out, before they'd had a drink, before they got excited at wherever they were or anything like that, I say, make a decision about what you want to happen tonight. How do you want to stay with your friends? Do you want to come home in a taxi with your friends? What do you want the outcome of tonight to be? Because I could really see that if they just went out with their friends or whatever, and if they did end up having a drink, and I would say, do you want alcohol or don't you want alcohol? Make that decision now at home, from a clear mind. What do you want? Because I could really see that if they could make a decision now in this space, if they found themselves in a position where somebody was maybe trying to ask them to do something that they didn't really want to do, if they already knew what it was they wanted to do, they were way, way more likely to stick to that. you know to
right."
to sort of say, oh no, I'm not gonna go out late, or I'm not gonna have more alcohol. I made it my decision. I was having 2 drinks or whatever it was. I just really noticed, and we would have conversations, and they also found it really helpful because they would say, yeah, I don't want to feel pressured in the moment, and if I've already made a decision at home, and talked it out, and this is the decision I've made. So there definitely is some, it feels like we invite God into these spaces. It's like, yeah, this is what I would like to do, and I'm maybe going to get into a position where this is a little bit difficult. Can you show up for me in that moment,
Mm.
please?
Mm. Oh, this is so beautiful. Two words come to me similar. One is decide, and decide and what do you truly desire. Okay.
Yes.
So, have a desire and decide that you are going to, that's your desire, that you want to fulfill it. So when you said I made a commitment, to choose coming from love. So you are not waiting for a moment for something to happen, stimuli to happen, and then say, okay, ooh, let me see, shall I come from love now? Like
Yeah.
you had already decided a long
Yes.
time ago
Yes.
that this is how you're going to go up. So that you said that was a desire and you decided. I think
Mm,
that's something about me. Some people sometimes say that I'm not good at making decisions. And it's really interesting. We decide all the time, like, oh, am I going to pick this up and drink it right now? I can decide, right? So
yeah.
we do make many decisions, but we also freak out by saying, oh, but decision is very, like, it's difficult. I'll give an example of, I used to struggle with the word commitment. Like, oh my goodness, commitment. It was so like, it was like a moral compass for me. If I commit and I can't keep my, I'd rather not commit. Thank you very much. I will
Yes.
try. Because try is like, yeah, it might happen, it might not happen.
Mm,
I decided to abolish the word try from mine. I either do it or don't. But I know that if I find myself using try, I know that there's a lie coming in, lie identity, okay?
yes.
A
Yes.
lie sneaking in. So, so going back to the commitment, I love what you just said. It was very clear that there was a commitment. You had no idea how you're going to keep coming from a place of love, yeah, but you decided and you were clear, so you had a commitment and you decided. And so even before anything happened, like, oh, if people are horrible to me, then I'll come from a place of love or something. No, you just decided that's going to be that's what you're going to create for yourself. And I think what happened to me over the time is like, I realized that again, I freaked out with the word commitment, just like some people freak out with the word God. Okay,
Yes.
oh, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I just made it up that commitment is something, a moral compass, that if I commit, if I say commit, then I'll be a loser if I don't get the results. So there was a lot of attachment. And now I say, well, we can, do you know the fun thing about commitment is that commitment is not a one-time thing. It's like commit again, keep recommitting. Also, oh, I slipped, I recommit. So I bet, I'm not saying I bet, but um, possibly there are times that you also come from fear, and then when you see it, then you say, "Oh, I recommit to coming from place of love again," right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that about the decision. So coming back to the God, and do you believe in God? I guess I have not been, I wouldn't say that all my life I had been exploring this, but I knew that when I was a young teenager, and I was like most teenagers, I was pretty, like self-absorbed and felt sorry for myself and felt the whole world was against me. Nothing major, but like kind of thing. But I remember lying in bed thinking, like, although I don't believe in God as such, God as in like an idol worship kind of God, I always had the sense there was something bigger than me. I couldn't even articulate it. And the more, like, lately, the more I am also deciding to experiment. No one else can decide on our behalf whether we believe in God or whether we do this love experiment or not. But once we make a decision, even if it feels like a bit wobbly at the moment,
Mm,
if we decide, that can really grow, because at any point we can recommit. But because I'm a psychiatrist, and I'll come back to that as well. So most people are focusing on the fear base, like, oh, my mental health is getting worse, or it might get worse. What if I go back to this, or I might not recover, and I'm going to get stuck to this for the rest of my life. And that again is like, it's really interesting, isn't it? Although they don't want, that's not what they desire. They are talking in the negative, or they are affirming in the negative. I don't want this. I don't want this. So I think it's very important to have a desire. Like, what do I really desire? If I don't want this, what do I really desire? I want peace of mind. I want this. I want to be able to, whatever it is, and then decide to, rather than wait for circumstances to happen and then I take those breaths or I then feel
Yeah,
peaceful, decide. And you, of course, it's not like we don't need help. This is where my faith in a higher intelligence, life force or life energy really has helped me. I decide and I know that I'm not in control. Of course, I do my bit because I'm the creator. God is always wanting to help me, whether I said want this or I want that. God is always helping me create, right? So that's what I would say. I love the intentionality behind our words and say this is what I desire. And I'm deciding, I might keep falling, I might keep like taking a few steps and I feel like
mm,
I have to get 100 steps back, but this is my desire, this is my desire. And there's something about like that divinity. When I say God, I'm feeling divine, and we are talking about something formless.
yeah.
Um, that to me is like, if people were to, again, we are just playing with words, but this is also an experiment people can do. You don't have to believe Deborah, you don't have to believe me, but you decide what you really want. You have a desire and do it your style, your way.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that's the whole point, isn't it? It is and the thing about an experiment is you can't get it wrong. It is like that is an invitation to play. And I can see over the years since I came across the principles, that's always been, I think, the way that I've approached it. It's like, okay, what would happen if I play like this? Because I remember in the early days, when I first came across the principles, and I was not in a great place. I was, in a terrible, terrible state. And I remember thinking, talking about the control experiment, I absolutely, there were so many things. And one of I would have, I had to have my shower first when I got up in the morning, and I had to make my bed before I left my bedroom. And I think when we start to get, when we are afraid, we can drop into controlling behaviors because of our fear. It leads to that. And I can remember one of the first things that I played with. So every morning I drank my cup of tea out of the same mug. And I remember just playing with well, if this is thought and I don't have to believe the thought and I don't even know what the thought was that was attached to it. I couldn't even have told you what I believed might happen if I didn't do that. But it was just, I would get really upset if my mug wasn't there for any reason, or whatever. It's like, I've got to drink out of this same mug. And then I remember one of the first experiments I ever did was just being like, okay, what if for a whole week you drink your tea out of a different mug every morning? You drink your tea out of a different mug.
How
And
many mugs do you have?
lots.
When shopping.
But it was like, oh my gosh, just seeing, do you know what? We don't have to be in control in that way. The world didn't end. Here I am. I drank my tea out of a different mug every day for a week, and the world didn't end. And it's like, wow, yeah. And I guess it is just playing in that way, your own way, in a way that makes sense to you, a way that is at the level where you are in this moment, whatever that commitment is. And I know, I remember some of my first commitments when I first left my relationship and I was in a terrible, terrible state. It was literally like, I would be like, I'm not going back to that relationship for the next hour. It would literally be that, I'm not going back into that abusive situation for the next hour. And that was as much as I could do. And then seeing this, oh, okay, let's drink my tea out of a different mug. But this is what I love about playing and experimenting, because from those things, I mean, the growth, it's huge where we can get to if we are prepared. and our mind will kind of go, oh gosh, I can't commit to this whole, I can't commit to something to the rest of my life, and I can't. And it's like, you don't have to. It literally is. Can you commit? Can you commit to just the next moment to try to do something, to play, to experiment, to look, to be open? And if we invite God, divinity, whatever, the divine in, it blows my mind. It feels like the minute we just open that door, our bit is so small, and the bit that we have to do is it's comparable to where we are. You can see when I was in those places, it was like, yeah, I can commit for the next hour. I can drink my tea from a different mug tomorrow morning. That was the level that I could commit at that moment.
Beautiful.
But
See,
it's
again, we have also this idea possibly that if I play, it has to be perfect. I need to
yeah.
go, I need to know the rule books. I need to know what the rules are, kind of thing. And again, that's the control, isn't it? The control
Yes,
coming in.
yes, absolutely.
And I, I just I find that the fluidity of some of the things I try is fascinating, or I experiment with is fascinating. But one thing is clear: there's a compass.
Yes.
It's not like we're just playing randomly, but there's always a compass. For you, it is like coming from a place of love.
Yeah.
That's a compass. So knowing that, experiment with whatever, but you know that that keeps you
Yeah.
back, and
Yeah.
that's the anchor. For me, again, it could be different things at the moment. Again, playing with words is like the paradigm of mental wealth, and also like being closer to God than ever before. And my experiment is being closer to God than ever before, seeing the presence of God everywhere, not just in certain people or in certain places, experiencing the presence of God like never before. And that's my play. And it's fascinating, how much more I get present because I am experimenting with that. Because if you think about it, Deborah, is like we can't find God in the past. We can't find God in the future. We can only find or experience God in the now, in the present moment.
Yes. Mm.
I love you so much. This is fun.
I love you so much too. This has been absolutely beautiful. I think I could continue talking to you about this for days and days and days on end. There's so much richness and beautifulness in there. Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and we will be talking for 3 days.
We will, yes.
Beck would love me for this.
Yes, Beck would give you 10 out of 10 for this, Rani. 10 out of 10. Yes, if anyone is watching this and they want to join us in March, and pretty much whatever year you are watching this, whenever you are watching this, we do our conference every year. So March, we have a 3-day conference where this conversation, the love experiment, looking towards the paradigm of mental wealth, all of this that we've discussed today, and it is literally just a 3-day love conference, the conference of love. That yeah, it's just beautiful. So do come and join us in person. We would love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for this invitation. It's been a pleasure. I love having conversations with you, whether it's on stage or off stage, or like recorded here. It's been an absolute joy, and I have to say that thank you for trusting and listening to God and opening this channel called Do You Believe in God? I think this is mind-blowing, beautiful experiment, and so thank you for following your wisdom.
Oh, thank you. And it's amazed me that the the people that I have asked, like you shared your experience of what happened for you when I asked, and that is just across the board. People I've maybe gone in with, oh, I'm not sure about that person, and they've come back like this and been like, the moment is exactly right, and that's a conversation I would love to have. So you see the divine in all things.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank you so, so much.